What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Zebulon Law Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah. On today's episode, I'll be going over the college football playoff rankings that came out last night on Tuesday. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, as y'all see, no changes really up at the top outside of Ole Miss has jumped in front of Penn State. So, you got Ohio State, you got Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Penn State, running up your top 10. Now, as I came on here and said last week, I do not think Ohio State is the best team in college football, but they do have the best resume. And this committee, well, they care about y'all, they care about their resume. So, if we're going off resume, Ohio State is number one. But I still think they're the best team. I think Michigan has been the most dominant team. I think Florida State has been the most consistent team. Georgia, we know Georgia's great. And listen, I think right now you got to say Georgia should be number one, right? Georgia, that win they had against Missouri, man, tough fought win. I told y'all when I was giving my college football picks, I said that Missouri's gonna cover, right? That wasn't like fit. They were Georgia, excuse me, Georgia was 15-point favorites. I said, yeah, Georgia's not gonna win by 15. Um, I said they weren't gonna win by double digits, and they didn't because Missouri has a lot of firepower on the offense. I knew there's no way Georgia can just blow out this Missouri team. Missouri is very different from Kentucky. Kentucky's more of a ground and pound team. Missouri can air that thing out because of the weapons they have. They had Brady Cook at quarterback, and it was a challenge for Georgia. But if we just going off this weekend, Georgia would have to be number one, right? Because Georgia looked more impressive in their win than Ohio State did. Ohio State, honestly, like was they were in a dogfight at halftime. At halftime, going into the break against a Rutgers team that, albeit Rutgers is improving, they're 6-3, but like, come on, Ohio State, y'all are still way better than Rutgers. But I'm not mad with that. Michigan, 9-0. Michigan. I mean, they're Michigan, obviously, like I said last week, y'all know Michigan has a lot of stuff going on. Kind of, it's off the field, but it is related to their own field play. But that's why I'm interested to see how they play this week against Penn State. Because obviously, we know again, y'all, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Michigan program, and now you're playing against a tough opponent. Michigan's schedule has been very, very easy, but now you're playing against a pretty tough opponent in Penn State. So we're gonna see how they play there. Florida State at 9. I have no problem with Florida State being here. Have no problem with them being. Excuse me, Florida State at 4. I said they're 9. They're 9-0. They're at 4. Have no problem with Florida State being there. Got to a slow start on Saturday, but we know why they were missing Johnny Wilson. They got to a slow start on Saturday against Pittsburgh, but we know why they were missing their two best players offensively at the skill position in Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman. So we understood why they got to that slow start. But I'm very high on Florida State, man. And y'all, I mean, Florida State is looking like they're kind of locked into the playoffs. I mean, all you have to do is win the ACC championship, and they should be fine. That's really all they have to do. It won't be easy playing against a Louisville team. We'll talk about them here in a minute, but yeah, Florida State they almost like they're locked into going into the playoffs at this point. But yeah, like what Florida State is doing, man, and I believe this team. I really do. Got Washington coming off that big win against USC. So yeah, again, like I said, y'all, basically the top remained the same outside of Ole Miss, just leapfrogging Penn State, but have no problem with Washington. Some people say Oregon needs to be ahead of Washington, but remember, y'all, Washington did beat Oregon head to head. I know people say, well, after that game, Oregon's like the better team, and they have, but Washington made a statement going on the road against USC and Caleb Williams and that high flying offense. Man, they put up 52 points. We knew it was going to be a high scoring game, and Washington won. That's why I took Washington, because USC's defense is absolutely trash. Texas, man, I picked Texas to lose the game against Kansas State. Texas that jumped out to a 17 to nothing lead, and Kansas State came roaring back, and obviously Texas ended up beating them in overtime. So shout out to Texas, man. That's tough playing against a tough defense at Kansas State, and you got a freshman quarterback, Malik Murphy. But they showed a lot of resiliency to end up being able to pull out that win. Bama, we know what Bama did. I picked Bama to win. Unfortunately, what happened to Jaden Daniels and that hit he had, which should have been a target, but we're not gonna get into that. But Yeah, Alabama seems like they found their stride offensively, and I mean, I hate to say this, but Alabama, yeah, I mean, are they a contender to go to the college football playoff? Yeah, the problem is they're going to have to play Georgia in the SEC championship game, and they're going to lose. So because of that, Bama's going. I think Bama's going to end up having 2 losses, and they're going to be out of it. But right now, and that's all we're going by right now, Bama's an absolute contender. Ole Miss, obviously, we know Ole Miss has that big game coming up against Georgia. If Ole Miss was to win that game, man, Ole Miss is now like really in the college football playoff discussion. Because here's the thing, obviously, Ole Miss really they don't have a chance to win the SEC West because Alabama beat them head to head. But y'all, I mean, if Ole Miss was to get this win, whoo, it would really, 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 really. Because y'all see, they already at 9. So if they beat Georgia, y'all, you might have. I ain't gonna lie. If they beat Georgia, I think you got to put them at 6, y'all. I think they would go all the way up to 6 for me. They would go all the way up to 6 for me. They really would. And some people could even maybe say 5, but definitely 6. They would jump to 6. I know Alabama beat them head to head. I think Texas. I still think Texas is better than Ole Miss. So I think on the neutral site, Texas would beat Ole Miss, and I think Oregon would definitely beat Ole Miss. But y'all, if Ole Miss beats Georgia, you got to put them in the top 6, bro. They got to be at least at number 6. There's no way you can't put them at least in the top 6. And then, like I said, we have Penn State rounding out our top 10, playing against Michigan. If Penn State was to win this game, wow, it would do wonders for them. If not, it looks like they're more than likely going maybe go to New Year's Six Bowl, but or maybe end up going like to the Camping World Bowl or something like that. But man, Penn State, when are y'all actually gonna start competing with the big boys? Y'all, if they were to get this win against Michigan, it would go a long way. Now let's get into 11 through 22. So we got Louisville, man. Y'all know, man, I'm a big fan of Louisville. Like what Coach Jeff Brom is doing, his first year there. They're 8-1. I still hate they have that loss against Pittsburgh, but hey, nothing you can do about it now. You got to keep pushing, keep going. But like Louisville, man, they are basically looks like it's gonna be them. Florida State has clinched the championship game berth, and Louisville looks like, man, they're gonna do it as well. As long as they take care of business against Virginia this week, don't have a little let up game. I don't think they will. So yeah, Louisville. I mean, they're in the playoff conversation as well. If Louisville was to win the ACC, hey man, they would be right there in discussion. I don't know if they would make it because there's some other teams that can also have one loss. There's a bunch of teams that actually can have one loss, and they will be kind of interested to see what the committee does and how they will rank them. But Louisville is definitely in the conversation. Oregon State, tough win against Colorado, but good for Oregon State, man, at number 12. Oregon State looks like they can have another 10-win season. So congratulations to Jonathan Smith and the job that he has done, turn that program around. Tennessee, hey, you beat UConn, you blew them out 59-6. Nothing to really say there. Missouri, tough fought game against Georgia, man. Gave everything y'all had. Some questionable calls by your coach, but very questionable calls by Coach Eli. But playing in Athens, man, tough place to play against against the number 2 team and number 2 team in the nation, the 2-time defending national champions. You really play. I mean, you played them to the last maybe 4 or 5 minutes until they unfortunately had that interception. But Missouri, y'all got a big game coming against Tennessee this week. It's a game I will potentially maybe be watching, but you got 13 versus 14. Big game going on in the SEC East. Next up, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, that was like my upset pick of the week. I picked Oklahoma State to win the last game in Baylor, man. Shout out to Mike Gundy, Oliver Gordon running that football. I mean, wow. Talk about transformation that Oklahoma State has done. This is a team, y'all, that had lost to South Alabama at home. I repeat, they lost to the South Alabama Jaguars at home. And it looked like that Oklahoma State gonna have a bad year. Then they end up having that bad loss against Iowa State on the road, but now all of a sudden they won 5 games in a row, man. They're 7-2, and all they have to do, pretty much all Oklahoma State, has to do, y'all, just went out, and they will be playing in the Big 12 championship game against more than likely it's gonna be against Texas. And their schedule, I mean, they got UCF, they got Houston, and they got BYU. They should easily win went out, man. So yeah, Oklahoma State is more than likely going to the Big 12 championship game. Kansas, next up is 16, man. Shout out to Kansas. Like I said last week, Lance Leipold has really done a complete 360, not just on that program, but therefore, but their entire city and state. Because now they got a team they can actually be proud of. So shout out to what he's done, man. Tough win on the road against Iowa State. So Kansas, man, 7-2, y'all. I think this is the first game they won 7 games since like 2007. I mean, that's been almost 20 years ago since they won 7 games. Sorry, y'all, my nose is itching, but yeah, great job by Kansas coming in number 16. I agree with this. They should be ahead of the team. I'm going to talk about next, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, man. Listen, is Brett Venables y'all guy? Is he really y'all guy? Because you're talking about just 2 weeks ago, Oklahoma's in the playoff discussion. Now it's like, dang, they might be playing in the Alamo Bowl, y'all. The Alamo Bowl. And the Alamo Bowl, it's a pretty solid bowl game. But how do you go from being in a playoff discussion, now you're playing in the Alamo Bowl? Not good. Brett Venables, man, his defense his defense looked like how the defense looked last year. Remember, we were heaping praises on them saying, hey, Oklahoma's defense is much improved. But the last couple of weeks, I have not seen it. You got Utah, man. Utah absolutely destroyed Arizona State. We know what kind of team Utah is, man. Big, physical, tough, ground and pound. I like that quarterback Cam Rising as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, Utah will definitely they'll go to a pretty good bowl game. Excuse me, that's so we got LSU coming in at 19, and unfortunately Jaden Daniels, man, got injured. It was a back and forth game. But Alabama was able to make a play defensively, y'all, and that's what got them up by the 2 touchdowns. So yeah, LSU 6-3. Last you look at the LSU went 10-4, so it's like they might be a little worse than last year. But remember, y'all, Brian Kelly, this is only his second year. I think LSU is still kind of, in some ways, I feel like they're rebuilding, especially defensively. I know a lot of people thought LSU was going to be a contender this year. I didn't think that because I knew they had problems defensively. And like I said, y'all, this roster is still like not perfect. But it's only year 2 of Brian Kelly. So they still got time to get things together. And now we move to our last 16. Starting off at number 20 with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, man. Wow. I mean, you talking about a disappointing loss against freaking Clemson. And this is when Clemson, this has been Clemson's worst year in like 15 years, I believe, or something. Clemson has not had this bad of a year in a while. But you lost to them. And Clemson's offense is really bad. They actually look pretty solid against Notre Dame. And Sam Hartman, oh my God, Sam Hartman was absolutely god awful in that game. So Notre Dame, hey, listen, I like Marcus Freeman. I'm gonna just say this, man. Next year, if Notre Dame is not competing for a playoff spot, his seat is gonna get real hot, y'all. I mean, Notre Dame 7-3. Last year they went 9-4, I believe. I mean, that ain't good enough, y'all. That ain't good enough. Let's just be honest now. That's not good enough for Notre Dame. It's just not. I mean, Notre Dame had Lou Holtz back then. They were, winning 12 games a year, going to national championship games, competing. So I like Marcus Freeman. I do. But 9-4, now 7-3. It's looking like it could be probably another like 9-4 season. I mean, bro, that ain't good enough. This is a program that expects to be competing for national championship. Next up, man, we got Arizona. Man, I just want to clap for Arizona. Wow, man. Arizona, I'm surprised by y'all. I really am. 6-3, and the opponents you beat, Washington State. When they beat Washington State, that's when I knew, okay, maybe Arizona's for real. Because y'all, Washington State was 4-0 at the time, and they were able to defeat them. And so I was like, okay, maybe this team is good. Like, but let me see more. And then they was like, okay, not only gonna be Washington State, we're gonna be Oregon State. And I was like, okay. And then they end up beating UCLA, and I'm like, dang, this team is pretty solid. And then we saw they almost beat USC. So Arizona's absolutely deserving of this ranking, man. Y'all know Arizona under Kevin Sumlin, y'all. There was some real lean years for them, really, really bad. But now Arizona looks like a competent team again. Next up, we got Iowa, the most boring team of all college football. But yet somehow they're leading the Big Ten West, y'all. And somehow Iowa is 7-2, and they're more than likely going to finish the regular season, 10-2. I don't know how Iowa keeps doing this again. The most boring football team. This offense is so so god awful. But somehow Iowa just continues to just win these games. Man, they got workers coming up. It ain't gonna be an easy game, but yeah, Iowa looks like they're gonna probably be 10-2. At worst, they'll go 9-3. But it's like, how's a team that has this bad offense? How are they even 7-2? How do they have a chance to win 10 games? I don't know, man. Kirk Ferentz, I know he gets the most out of his defense. His defense is very elite, but I don't know how he keeps doing this. I don't know how he keeps doing this, y'all, but he does it. So I guess shout out to Iowa. Tulane, man. Whoa. Tulane, that was a scary game against East Carolina, wasn't it? East Carolina was 2 and they were 1-7 coming that game, but boy, y'all, they gave Tulane everything they could. That was a low scoring game, and Tulane ain't used to that. Tulane puts up points, but that was a 13-10 ball game, kind of old school style game. So Tulane needs to watch it, but I still like Tulane. And obviously, since Air Force lost on Saturday, now Tulane has a very easy path. Win out, beat SMU, right? Because they're gonna have to probably play SMU in the AAC championship game. As long as you beat, or maybe Memphis. So as long as you beat SMU or Memphis, hey, you going back to the New Year's Six Bowl. So shout out to Tulane. Next up, North Carolina. UNC, man, I'm still, y'all, so disappointed. I thought UNC could really be a playoff contender. They're not, unfortunately. They beat Campbell. I mean, nothing to really say about that. But I still like Drake May. I like Tez Walker. Just still disappointed that UNC is even at this point. They shouldn't even be 7-2. They should really be 9-0. I mean, if UNC was 9-0 and you had Louisville as well and Florida State, y'all, okay, then this ACC would be so different. But North Carolina's out of it, unfortunately. But maybe North Carolina, y'all can still win 10 games, finish the season strong. And then finally, y'all, we had Kansas State coming in at 25. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was speaking on Texas, Kansas State was down 17-0, but they were able to crawl themselves back into that game and almost pull off the upset. But unfortunately, they were not able to complete the comeback. But I still like Kansas State, their defense. And I still think they can win out and finish 9-3. Unfortunately, they will be able to go back to the Big 12 championship game this year. But I still like what Kansas State has done. So, y'all, looking at the rankings, I really don't have any problems with it. I really don't. I think this is a really good week for the committee. Again, maybe some people say Georgia needs to be number 1 over Ohio State. Maybe some people say Oregon needs to be ahead of Washington. Some people even say Oregon needs to probably be ahead of Michigan. Honestly, I've seen people out there say that. So, it just depends. But other than that, you're looking at these rankings, y'all, they did a pretty solid job. I think they did a pretty solid job. Personally, I would have Arizona ahead of LSU and Notre Dame. I really would. But that's just my opinion. North Carolina, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I don't even think North Carolina should be in the rankings at all. I would have put Liberty in the rankings. Excuse me. That's how I would put Liberty, the Liberty Flames, led by Coach Jamie Chadwell. I would have put them in the rankings, man. They're undefeated. I would have put them in the rankings, but instead they put North Carolina. But it's like, y'all, North Carolina beat Campbell. I mean, y'all don't know. I don't even know what that school is. I don't know where it is. So, but other than that, I mean, hey, those are little small things. Those are little small things. But in terms of major things, no, I think the committee got it right. And I think this is a good week it was a great week, for college football. Y'all got a lot of clarity on things. And now as we will start to get deeper in the month of November, these games are only gonna mean more and they're only gonna continue to get better. That was another episode of the Xavier Mulan Sports Podcast, man. Y'all leave a comment if y'all disagree with the college football rankings this week. But y'all know I'm in it, man. God bless. I love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Good night. Good morning. Wherever you watching this from. Or excuse me, whenever you are watching this video. But y'all know I'm gonna end it. Peace.